Sori.
That's Booby.
And Vita and Chip and Culpy.
Well, why are you laughing?
Because I couldn't figure out which one was which. There's too many children around here.
Ozzy Osbourne, ladies and gentlemen. It's a Patreon pick.
Did your mom ever do that when you guys were growing up? Start calling you all by...
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Then did she get frustrated?
Well, yeah, it's a big joke. Just made a big joke out of it.
Alright.
This is OZZY.
Diary of a Madman. What?
Ozzy Osbourne?
Yep.
Yeah, Diary of a Madman. Should be a good song.
So if you want to check out behind the scenes and what happens when you have multiple kids under the same roof, check out my channel, My Sori Life. There's lots of drama to see every day. Surprisingly, I would think that people would be like, I have enough drama at my house, I'm not watching your drama. But a lot of times people are like, thank you for reminding me the value of life. I'm like, the fuck?
Why?
Because it's always like these dramatic things that are happening around the house. I'm like, some of the times I'm like, I can't even record that. Nobody's going to believe that that actually happened. They're going to think the entire thing is staged.
Yeah, we have a very interesting life.
You know what? Dennis the Menace was popular for a reason, though.
Right.
That's our life.
We definitely have Dennis and Menace in the house for sure.
Yeah.
And then if you want to see PolitiFact get fact-checked, go to Middle America at Vin and Sori.
Yeah.
I think we just did a successful takedown of PolitiFact.
Yeah.
Politifraud.
Yeah, PolitiFraud.
Shrek! Alright. This, however, is a Patreon pick. They did I guess they did like an 80s vote in Colby's crew. So, what's the name of that group? Was that Sin and Glory? I think it was Sin and Glory.
Oh,
they did
I think it was Sin and Glory.
Pretty sure. That's Chris Culp's crew.
Yep, Chris Culp's crew.
We'll be shooting a...
Oh, he didn't... He usually... Yeah, Sin and Glory right there.
Yeah, Sin and Glory.
I'll tell you what. Damon is a bad man. He sets this up so well for us. Shout out to the big homie.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to be part of a Patreon alliance or whatever, we're shooting a video very soon where we'll be explaining all that goodness.
Yeah, we'll get you the breakdown of who, what, where, when, and why.
And right now, though, we're listening to Diary of a Madman, Ozzy Osbourne. Go!
Go. Very interesting sounding. Wow.
I think that's probably my favorite Ozzy song.
That was something else.
He really grew from listening to early Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
Was very, very basic. To this, he really grew as a musician.
How old is he?
And a singer. 60s, 70s maybe.
Surprised he's not older than that.
But he definitely grew a lot. You know, we were talking about AC/DC yesterday.
Yep.
At the meetup, and it was, I mean, they basically stayed the same. He really kind of grew.
Had some variation there and stuff.
He grew, yeah. And it seems like he was better in this band than he was in Black Sabbath.
This is his own band, right?
Yeah, I guess they were saying, they were saying he got kicked out of Sabbath because he's drinking.
Drinking, yeah. Maybe, like I said, maybe part of it is the whole like, oh, like you're finally like you your pride kicks in. You're like, hey, now watch what I can do.
Right.
This is what you missed out on, you know. But then at the same time, I'm sure you now have the freedom to run the thing the way you want. If you're the leader, you know. Aside from what the record label says, but.
Well, I think he was probably the leader of the other band too, but they all collectively got together and booted him because he was.
Well, yeah, I know, but there must have been if he sounds different in this one than he did in the other one, then.
Yeah, he definitely grew. That's for sure. But this song was really ambitious for just a metal song because it was like.
Oh, there was so much there. Yeah.
It's like very, very epic sounding.
Yeah, really interesting for the topic too.
What, like insanity, losing your mind?
Yeah.
Why?
Like you would picture like, you know, that would sound more crazy. Not so pretty, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. That was really good when he was that was like the bridge into the chorus or whatever. There was a line that was really interesting. It was at the very, very end. Monday till Sunday in stages set me free.
I know.
What did you get from that?
I just got that, like all throughout the week, he just goes through stages and he wants to be set free from those cycles.
Oh, I was
What'd you get?
I was interpreting it literally as in he does stages. He's on stage and that's the only time when he doesn't feel crazy.
It's when?
When he's performing on stage.
Oh, that's when he's set free?
Yeah. The only time he really feels free is and not insane is when he's doing his music.
Yeah.
Which I heard LeBron James talking about that one time was they were like, how do you deal with the pressure of being LeBron James? And he said, well, when he's on the basketball court, that's when he feels the best.
Wow. Interesting.
You know, that's when he's, you know, so it's crazy when you're gifted like that. That's the thing that probably ends up driving you crazy, but it's also, you know, because that's the reason he had all that pressure on him is because he's such a crazy basketball player. But that's also the reason. That's also the thing that he escapes to. Yeah.
That's convenient. I don't think it's like that for everybody.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Is there any? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm switching subjects.
Go for it.
Is there anything in the song you didn't like?
There was a second solo I forgot where the solo was, but there was like an instrumental break or whatever, and then the solo kind of slowed it down. And I liked the pace that it was before, but other than that, no. What about you?
Nothing lyrically?
No, lyrically I was good. What about you?
I didn't like when he said, sanity is now beyond me, there is no choice.
Why didn't you like that?
I don't like that because maybe because I've met people that are like, I have no choice. Like, I just destroy people. I have no choice.
Yeah.
No, sanity is not beyond you.
Yeah,
you do have a choice, but when you settle it in your head that you have no choice, it then becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy and you don't have a choice.
Right.
Stop it.
That's always an interesting discussion. Because when you're talking about mental illness, there is a line to where I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about. And that particular person absolutely made choices. But then I think to myself, like, anybody who, like a mass murderer, for example, we put them in jail and we say, oh, that's a terrible person. You can't tell me that a mass murderer is, like, not mentally ill. So everybody knows there's a line of accountability even if you're mentally ill.
Right. Right.
But at the same time, I also know, like, being, fighting mental illness my entire life, and then having my mom fought it her entire life. There were times when it was just to me, it was like, she can't help this stuff. But then there are other times I'm like, nah, she's just being, you know what I mean? So that's always been a tough question for me. Because I don't know where that line is. But, well,
I don't know where the line is either, but I know that
right, with that
you have a choice.
Yeah, you do. I agree. Because, from our worldview, people are not just the chemicals in their brain.
Right.
That people, and I think everybody knows that, which is why we put the serial killer in jail and say he's a terrible person. Mm-hmm. Charles Manson, you're going to say that he was mentally, he was fine? Obviously, he was full of mental illness. Mm-hmm. Trump, all the people that hate Trump say that he's got narcissistic personality disorder. It doesn't keep them from hating him.
Right.
So, yeah, but at the same time, yeah, it's tough. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I just don't like that. I don't like it when people, and I've heard it a few times, with people, or like, some people keep doing certain behaviors over and over, and then they're like, I can't help it, I can't stop myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's just
right. And then we've had to deal with the fallout of those choices that other people make. And they get to just make I saw it a lot in the hospital though. When I was there in the hospital, and that's what they were telling you, was just like, you have no. And I remember I remember very clearly that God saying, don't listen to these people.
That's right.
Because I'd have never made it out if I would have bought into that.
I don't like that advice.
So.
I think that there are times, there may be times of a person's existence that, in a sense, sanity is beyond reach because they're in a really, really bad spot. But
right.
I don't think that you're totally and forever outside of that. You know what I mean? Like, one should always struggle toward that.
Well, even in the midst of, an episode, I've seen, for my mom, it was bipolar. And there were seasons where she had the awareness and she'd say, hey, this is happening, this is what's going on. And it worked really well. She couldn't control the mood swings or whatever, or it's not even a mood swing when you're bipolar. Yeah. But she knew, and she would say, and then there were other times when, but a lot of it was circumstantial. That's my problem, is like, sometimes things would be going completely perfect, everything was fine, and then she would just, because, and we were all able as a family to like come around her and it would work. But then when my stepdad... You, from a child's perspective, it looked like everything was fine. From a child's perspective, it may look like, why did all of a sudden, your mood all of a sudden will just go down. Right.
Circumstantially, there's nothing, it's basically the same thing every day here in this house. It's not like anything circumstantially changed. But mentally, there are things that you have to, hurdles that you have to overcome because things that you've seen and experienced and all that. Right. So to the outside or to a child's eye, it looks like everything was fine. It just came out of nowhere. Well, it didn't. I don't think that a lot of times it did. And your mom probably had those same things too, those same hurdles, different ones for her, but hurdles that she had to overcome mentally that would emotionally bring her down or depress her. I mean, she had been through a divorce.
Well,
she had been through, a lot of different things. She'd been through a lot of things. And, you know what I'm saying?
She had a rough time with my stepdad.
Right. So those things will...
But what I'm saying is there were times when they were good, when they were fine, and she just downtrended because she had bipolar. And you don't need circumstances when you're bipolar to experience one of those crashes. What I'm saying is when everything was fine and she would go down there, we all knew what was going on, we all rallied around her, and we were good. The only time that it got really hectic was when her and my stepdad weren't doing good, and you happened to catch her on a downtrend. Forget it. Much. Forget it.
What do you mean you rallied around her? Like,
we all knew what was going on. My older brother would get her breakfast in bed and all, because she couldn't get out of bed. And, everything would be fine. And as far as, like, we all knew what was happening, and she would tell us, and she'd snap at us, and then she'd come back, 20 minutes later and say, I'm sorry, I'm just, whatever. And we were good. We didn't make a big deal out of it, and we were good. And there's a certain level of leeway that you give to a person. You have to. You can't. But then there were other times when it wasn't like that. My brother would bring her breakfast in bed, but that wouldn't do anything. But and then my stepdad was off, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Looking back at it and now being in a relationship with somebody who has those issues, not you, but the previous one, I had a more clear understanding of why my stepdad was the way that he was too. Because it's extremely difficult for the person that's trying to be the primary, you know, it's
I see.
You know, and he had, you know, issues of his own. Right. So I've never been able to really parse where that line is to say you're responsible for this, even if you have a. I do know that I'm saying.
I wouldn't want to parse the line either.
being diagnosed with multiple mental illnesses and being in the hospital for half a year after a suicide attempt, they absolutely were basically telling you that, you know, you have no choice and you're essentially not responsible for anything you do if you're having an episode. I mean, that's essentially how it was.
That's awful.
Then they would tell you, you know, how to cope with it, but they would never put any responsibility on you. And I do think that that's dangerous.
I think so.
Because people get offended if you say, yeah, I know you have that. I have it.
They do, yeah.
But you have to, you gotta, you know, but you do.
Yeah. Because we used to hear it all the time when we were working downtown. Everybody, it seemed like, you know, maybe it's because of where we were, but my word, everybody had mental illness.
That entire area had been massively traumatized.
Right.
They'd been abused all their lives and been massively traumatized.
So there's all of this mental illness there, and then nobody's saying like, everybody was like that was their escape. Like, oh, well, but I have mental illness, so. But
when you told them, yeah, but.
I never told them that. You did.
Yeah, they reacted well to it.
Yeah, I was always surprised. I never dared to say that because I was like.
Well, I think, you know, they could look at my arms and stuff and realize that I wasn't talking shit. Like, I'd been through it.
Right.
And so, you know.
It was weird because, not weird, but whenever you would say that to somebody, I always felt like that there was a feeling of stability that entered the room when you said that. Like, almost like these people had no floor, no grounding principle or something. And then all of a sudden they had something.
Yeah.
And,
it gave them some hope.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
when you said it, I was like...
I don't see OZZY as completely... well...
What is people going to say, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think if you have to be able to read the room and know when is the right time to say things and when is not the right time to say things.
I'm not good at that at all.
And like I said, I had, you know, if you met me in the flesh and you're
marked all up, yeah.
I mean, they know that. But they also saw, hey, he seems like he's figured this thing out and I want to get there. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, this is how you get there.
Yeah, and you talk with a certain level of authority even if you have none. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be the pastor or you know what I mean? Like, you just... come with that energy that kind of makes people feel like you're the boss.
I don't see OZZY completely surrendering to it, though.
No. Well, this part, when he said, a sickened mind and spirit, the mirror tells me lies. Could I mistake myself for someone who lives behind my eyes? Will he escape my soul or will he live in me? Is he trying to get out or trying to enter me? That part... I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
that's the struggle. But I
see him struggling with it. He's not just, and he has the awareness to realize that his musicianship and his, you know, being OZZY and being on stage helps him to some degree.
Yeah.
That's how I'm interpreting the last line. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things, and he says it explicitly, voicing the scream away my mental health. Can I ask a question to help save me from myself?
Yeah.
So he is, and that's on the other side, I don't think that people with mental illness get enough credit for, which is if you don't have a mental illness, I'm not saying you, I'm saying the general you, you don't realize how difficult it is to get through a day, or how difficult it is to get to work, and to, I mean, I remember like being like, whoa, how am I going to do this? And it's extremely difficult. And so the struggle that you see like in the bridge and things like that and those questions and can you ask a question to help save you from yourself because you end up being your own worst enemy at some point when you're struggling with that stuff. Yeah. So that's why I was really appreciating his lyricism here. I'm like, shit, he's pretty much got it down. Like I remember being in the hospital and staying and looking in the mirror for about 20 minutes straight one time. I don't really know what I was doing. But I would just remember thinking to myself, like, asking myself, like, what's wrong with you? Is a weird experience. And I don't know, maybe it's just, let's get my meds balanced. But I remember looking at myself and saying, what's wrong with you? And like looking, it was just a weird situation. I was just there for like 20 minutes straight looking in the mirror. I ended up asking my doctor, shout out to Dr. Petzel. I said, why did I do that? What was wrong with me? And she said, apparently it's a thing.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
That's a thing?
It's a
like,
thing. People.
With mental illness will stare in the mirror?
She said that she saw a lot of people in the hospital doing that. I guess I was trying to figure out is like, why is this me? How did this happen? Or why am I like this? And why can't you just string together a couple days of, whatever? I remember saying that to myself, and she said it was part of, coming to grips with whatever. I don't know what she said. It's like I said, I was all in a haze.
Yeah.
But when he was saying that about the mirror or something like that, and he was asking those questions to himself, you don't recognize who you are as a, for a while. It's like, whoa.
Yikes.
Yeah. So you have all these questions. I didn't ask myself those questions. I had a different set of questions I was asking myself at the time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm like, okay, he really knows what it's about. And it's weird. It just seems like people.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a tough situation.
Jeez.
So I get it. On the one hand, it's like, where's the line of responsibility? Mm-hmm. Because at some level, no matter how mentally ill you are, we always hold people responsible if they do really crazy stuff. But on the other hand, it's like, given the, the credit, if you struggle with mental illness and you're getting up and going to work and taking care of your kids and all that jazz, thumbs up to you. Yeah. Or even doing something with self-care. Like a lot of people, because we used to talk about this in DBT with coping strategies and being outthinking your illness is what we used to call it. And being like, okay, if you know X and Y thing, this is going to happen to you, what strategies do you have in place that you haven't beforehand to do that? So some people, sometimes it's listening to us. Yeah, and that's what keeps them connected to human beings temporarily, so that they can get up and go on with life. Kudos to you, and I mean that because it's a hell of a thing. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Yeah, but it's tough stuff for sure. So shout out to you. I tip my hat to you. Beautiful instrumentation in this song. I was just surprised by how pretty the song sounded.
Me too, because all I heard was so much horror about Ozzy. So, growing up, that was like the big. Him and Marilyn Manson. That was the two big bad ones. He
bit this bat or something like that. Yeah, he compared to all the stuff we've heard, he's pretty mild. When we were listening to Sabbath, some of the stuff from his part was just very, very simplistic. Mm-hmm. So this was. All these guys did a really, really good job. What do you rate the song?
9.3.
This is a 9.8 for me. I didn't like the second solo, so that's what separated that from a 10, but this was a really, really good song. This is a really good song. If I was a kid in the 80s, this would have been it's a little bit before our time, but that's all right. This would have been This song is like 30 plus years old. That's
incredible to me.
So now I'm really thinking, like, should this be a 10?
That's what I was just thinking when you said that.
Because it's 30 plus years old, and it was completely relevant to my time at the hospital stay. Like, I could have listened to this song.
And it doesn't sound like old and weird.
It doesn't sound dated.
Then I think we're going to have to give it a 10.
There's songs that sound dated, and there's songs that don't. Mm-hmm. This song is 30 plus years old. I got to give it a 10. I'm pushing it up. It's gonna
have to be, because when you said that, I was like, uh-oh, wait.
I'm pushing it up. It's a 10, ladies and gentlemen. It's timeless.
Throw the confetti.
That's one of the things. It's timeless. I didn't like the guitar part in the middle, but at the same time, it's still timeless. After 30 years. Hopefully these guys don't completely block us so that you guys can hear the whole song. That would be great. Mm-hmm. All right. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.